Hey everybody, and welcome on back to Minecraft. Today we are back here in our single player world, and I am so freaking excited to be back in here because we are going to be talking about something new today. And that something new is what to do when you don't know what to build in Minecraft. I think it's a thing that constantly a lot of people in this game struggle with. We all hit a point where we're working on our projects, we're working on our survival world, whatever it might be, where we're like, well, what do we do next? I already have a bunch of houses, I already have a bunch of things going on, I've automated everything, I don't know what to do, I've run out of things to do in this game. Or for me personally, I hit a point of I've built up 40 something houses inside of here, 40 or 50 houses. I don't want to build another house. So what do I do to mix things up? What do I do to get to a new point inside of this lovely game we all want to play constantly, but sometimes we just don't quite have the inspiration to keep on moving forwards with it. So today I would like to take some time to figure out what we can do to help ourselves continue to build inside of Minecraft, because it's a good one. It's a great game to play, but sometimes our creativity, just like anything else, if you're an artist, if you like to draw, if you like to do whatever, at times you're just like, you know what, the thing I want to do the least right now is draw or create art or whatever it might be. So let's start talking about it. The first one I have for you all here today that I've been really thinking about these a lot, and I've come up with a list of 6 or so points of things that I think are pretty important to keep in mind if you're starting to get burnt out on Minecraft, or if you have that question in mind of what do I do next? I don't want to work on this, but what do I do next? And maybe it's time that we take a break away from that project and we come out here and work into these other projects. Like I have this giant farming area here that I need to keep working, going up this direction to keep expanding it. We kind of just stopped it at the river, or we have this open area back here with these old, gross, regular Minecraft trees. What if we start expanding the farmland across the river going out that way? Or an even bigger project that I have been tackling very slowly over the past while is why don't we come up here and work on our custom terrain? We can work on the mountains, we can work on these things, and by working on the mountains and doing all these terraforming projects and expanding this one, it's opening doors for new projects like a Nordic city that we're going to be planning throughout this area here very, very soon. So I think one big thing to note is if you're starting to ask like that, what do I do next? Or I don't like my current project, but what should I do on it? Maybe it's time to take a step away from your current project, find a new one inside the same world, and go mess around with that for a bit, and you might get some more ideas for the old one. I think a very important thing to note on that topic though is you want to keep a list of all the projects that you have inside of your world, because you might forget about some areas. Like this section right here, we have left this alone for probably the last year and a half, and we just haven't filled it with anything, so it looks really bland and boring. And honestly, right now I need to go and add this to my list of things to do. But right now on my list of things to do, we have the port city, we have the custom mountains, and we have Papyrus, our desert city, as current projects that we're doing. And then for more streamy projects, I have the more mountain building I really like to do over there, and then as well as working on a nether hub. We haven't touched that for a few months now. And then there's so many other things inside this world that I just have lists of things, of places like this that need to be filled in with something. It doesn't have to be anything big. It just could be like a small stone wall that borders this area and add some grass on this side. Simple things like that can be just small details you add around your world. But the main thing to focus on that one is when you don't know what to do, or you don't know what you want to be doing, you don't like your current project, you have this big old list of things to do that you can go back and touch base on. And I think that's really important to have that, because so many times it doesn't matter what you're doing, having a list of things that need to be done for the day, even if it's not a fun list, even if it's a list of chores or whatever you have to do around the house before your mom gets home or before your significant other gets home or whatever it might be, it's nice to have that so you can check things off of there and be like, hey, I'm making some progress on this still. Another thing that I've been really trying to do recently to get myself back on track is really diving into the lore behind my world, which for people who don't really know what lore is, what is the story you're trying to tell with what you're doing? Maybe you're making a small cottage and then you just have like some farm animals and a farmland and everything going around there. You can still add a story to that. What do the people do on their daily basis? What do they go through? Like, what caused the nether portal to appear, or so you can get into the nether, or whatever those types of things outside of, oh, I went into the mines and gathered some obsidian. Think about a little bit more of the why of what's going on throughout this area. Try and explain different things going on throughout the world. Like for me here, we use this giant sugarcane plantation to showcase where sugarcane comes from. So we get the sugarcane from all of that area, it comes into here, and we have this thing right here, which is going to be smashing all of it into pieces, which is making our paper. We're drying the sugarcane, stripping it down, mashing it into pieces, and rolling into these big reams of paper right here, which is probably a very, very long-winded way of explaining sugarcane, because all we really need to do is take 3 of it, put it in a crafting table, and you got 3 paper. But that gave me the ability to try and learn something new inside this game. I don't understand redstone. Redstone is not the thing that I do, but I was able to come down here, which is kind of hard to see with the shaders, and we were able to learn a little bit more about redstone and build up one of those zero tick farms. I didn't come up with the design myself, and it's definitely broken right now, which is awesome, but you can kind of see it going right there and probably making a lot of loud noise for y'all. And that's kind of the type of thing that I'm talking about. If you don't know what to build or you don't know what to do, there's a lot of things you can learn inside of this game, which is great. And then you can also use that to help create a story behind what you're doing. Now, if you are crazy like me and you like to have a survival world that's going to last you forever, a few things we need inside of it is probably some redstone farms to be able to give us access to a lot of materials. As I said earlier, I don't understand this stuff, so going further forward with learning how to do things really opens the door to what we are doing inside of our game. So underneath this giant palace structure we actually have a giant mob farm down here, which is great for me to be able to learn how to, 1, make like some redstone towers, 2, explaining how we can create a mob farm, and do all these things, which then in turn allowed us to automate resource production a lot inside of our world, without too much effort and without too much stress or anything like that. It really opened up the doors to a lot of new things for us around this Minecraft world and really allowed us to start tackling some insane projects. As we can see, the arrow dropping down to their death right here really allows us to gather up all of the bone meal and everything we might need, all of the gunpowder and all that stuff to allow us to fly around, allow us to bone meal the heck out of a bunch of flowers, and just really open up the doors for some large major projects later on. Another big thing that I've been kind of doing a lot on my side is revisiting the goals that I have for my Minecraft world. As y'all have probably seen many a time so far, we've been recently talking about how we can add more uniqueness to our world. What really requires us to walk around the world and revisit old builds that we've done. For example, many of you probably have never seen this structure, but we built it less than 3 months ago. This is a giant ruined castle that we have throughout here, and since then there's been probably 20,000 new subscribers on the channel. Many of you have probably never seen this unless you went back to see old videos, old things like that, and it's because we have no reason to come over here. So in the revisiting my goals for my world, originally I wanted to build an interconnected world of a bunch of kingdoms, maybe inspired by a few other YouTubers who do a very similar series, but it was something important to me to have reason to go back into the worlds, and I just kind of never did that. I just never really followed through with that, and we had no reason to really come back to these places. This one here, for example, is a ruined castle, so it really doesn't make too much sense to go through here. But leaving this city and even traveling, or this castle and traveling even further south, leads us to a giant village that has so much to it. We use so many librarians and things like that inside of a giant custom village remake that, you know, it makes sense to travel down there every once in a while, but I just never do. There's never really been a reason for me to do that. So it's like, what can we do to make those things better? So recently we've been tackling that by, over in Papyrus, where we were just talking about the sugarcane and explaining the functionality behind that. That was something that we did there. So it's really coming down to what can we do to make sure these rules that we set forward in our world are becoming more and more interconnected and having reason behind them, so much so that we want to follow them. You don't want to just make some arbitrary rule of, I can only mine stone inside of my dwarven city, and then like outside of that it's like, well, I'm 10,000 blocks away, I don't want to go get stone, then like I'm just not going to do this project. I'm going to do something else with like wood or whatever it might be. So I think it's important to have those major goals in line and have some of your major resources, like your riches, like your iron, your gold, your diamonds, and all of like the reproducible things like cocoa beans and farming things and sugarcane and bamboo and whatever you might want to do. Have some reasons or places to explain where those come from as soon as you start expanding, but also don't limit yourself to say, I can't use bamboo until I build up an Asian city in the jungle or a jungle city Like, we can't have bamboo until we get to that point. Like, still go ahead and make a small farm before, but as soon as you get those builds finished up, that's where you can have the really large farms that produce a heck of a lot of the stuff. Another very important thing for what do we do next? If you have a story that you're following, if you have this lore that we've talked about previously, you can kind of lead from one thing to another. For example, I wanted to build that big old port city, which is over there, but we had this giant bay area that was just open to the sea out here. This is the only waterway to get ourselves inside, so I figured let's build a giant castle out here, which led us to cutting out this channel, building up the big castle, and then I figured, okay, well, this castle is here, but what existed here beforehand? So we have these small stone houses that are completely out of the style of everything else, which look older. They look much more older, like they've been here for a very long time. So maybe there's a small village of like locals that lived here. And then due to the castle being here, some people are like, I'm going to settle in near the castle because I don't want to get my stuff all the way out to the city through the bay and everything. So a quick way to just drop off some goods here is through this small fishing village that was able to be created down here. So through the story of adding this castle to the area due to the city needing to be defended and all of that stuff led to us coming up with a design for some locals that might have lived out here before, which led into some new people came into the region because they saw other people living out here with these giant wheat fields and everything, which led into them creating this small little fishing village, leading into having a boat built out here. And then also on top of that, I wanted the locals to look like they had some history, some ancient religion behind them that the rest of the world might not be following. So we added a small shrine area out here. And off in the distance, you can see our guardian farm. That really doesn't apply. It's just a fun thing out there. As we are on our quest here to find some inspiration about what we can build inside of Minecraft when we don't know what to build, I figured we would stop by this amazing man's world here, who is my constant source of inspiration for building inside of Minecraft, Viggoman himself, one of the great Conquest Reforged builders. How's it going, man?
Thank you so much, man. It's going great, man. It's going really good.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me to come over here and check out the world and giving it a little bit of a tour here. I know recently inside of my own world, I've been working on building up the docks and the harbor area, as well as building a giant city. And I'm kind of at that point right now where I've built about 50 houses. There's a lot of things going on, and I don't know what to do next. That's all. I feel like you probably know what that type of build style is when you go with something this big and grand as what you got around here. It's like, how do I fill in that leftover empty space? So yeah, I figured you would be the man to go to show us a little bit around what you got going on here.
Yeah, sure. 50 houses though, that's not anything compared to what we have here. But yeah, doing well, this is the port area, which it's quite old now, but it's getting there. I feel like every single bit is slightly filled up with detail, but it's not like overly detailed. I try to keep it realistic. I think that is more important than having things everywhere.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like there's so many people there just like, you know what, I got an open space here. I'm just going to throw a pile of melons in it. Like,
yeah, no, sure. So
doesn't work.
With Conquest, you have some more possibilities, as like we have these seagulls here. I guess you don't do that in vanilla, but you'll figure something out to kind of replace these.
Just throw a bunch of diorite around and it looks like birds
sure.
there, so it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have this ship here. It's a little bit bigger than the one you just did, but I think it has some of the similar features, I guess.
Yeah,
Chinese
boats
stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Boats are one of the things that I struggle with the absolute most. So I love looking at different ones around here. I love your little mermaid on the front. That is awesome.
It's pretty sexy, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is very cool, though. I really like this one. This is really cool.
Well, thank you. So one of the things I try to do is always to tell a story when I build. First of all, I make massive documents of lore, which might be too nerdy for some of you guys, but I can sit down for hours just writing stuff for my builds. But what I do is like this ship is coming in, then we have this cart which is transferring stuff. And, you know, trying to make everything has a purpose and kind of tell a little story with what I do.
Sounds good. So what was your inspiration behind doing this one? The architecture in the gardens here seems totally different than what you have throughout the rest of the city.
Yeah, so the gardens are, again, playing on the lore that I have. This temple is called the Temple of Epona, which is the god of fertility in kind of the religion that I have built for the city here.
Okay.
And what I'm trying to do with the park here, of course, it's looking like an Italian or French garden,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm trying to tell a story that the people, they control nature, or they can control nature, but also nature can control men in a way, and then kind of showing the powers of the goddess Epona. So yeah, just kind of playing on again the lore.
Gotcha.
So we have these straight lines kind of showing that man can change nature, but as you kind of walk through the garden here, it get more and more organic.
Okay, very cool.
And then showing that nature also can change men and
Mm-hmm.
change the world in a way.
Gotcha. No, I love this. I love these little trees too. This is something that I love throwing in my world, is just like these little trees where you can very much see the bark underneath them,
Yeah,
like you see the trunk of the tree. I feel like one thing a
totally.
lot of people in the vanilla side of things consistently do is here's the trunk I built. Now I'm gonna build 4 layers of leaves around the entire thing.
Yeah. I usually say, as long as the trunk is good, you don't have to do much to your tree to make it good.
Yeah, I love how you have these small gateways around every single place throughout here. You always, one, they're good for like the defensive side of things, but even when you're walking through the gateway, it really cuts the sight line of what you're looking
Yeah,
at, so it really encourages you to keep walking forward, and I love that. And all of the small statues and things you have hidden around here, I know these are much more Conquest Reforged friendly, but if we could do something like
yeah.
that inside of Vanilla, I would absolutely love that. That would be
Good
amazing.
luck with that in Vanilla, man.
Yeah. maybe
So
maybe
yeah,
some wooden trapdoors and wooden
yeah, be
statues are
creative.
okay,
A
right?
lot of player heads.
Lots of player heads. There we go.
Yeah. So the White Houses, like at this area we're here, is like the monastery. I don't think we have time to go into detail in them, but they all have like really cool interiors. We have a hospital. We have like a bakery and a feast hall, and yeah, there's a lot of like areas for the communal bits, and also the monks and nuns of the religion kind of staying here, so they have
Okay.
everything they need.
Totally. One thing to point out here as well for a lot of people who are probably watching this one and be like, wow, how can I build like that? A big thing I'm noticing you're doing here is all of the buildings are at different elevations and the roofs overlap each other. They're at so many different heights, and
Yeah,
you just have them broken up completely, like working into each other, but they're all kind of still their own unique structure, which I think really is adding so much more life into the build here. With just, it just makes it look so much more finished and polished and just a lot better overall.
I also think it makes the city look like it has evolved over time. Like with
Totally.
some of the roofs are more dark, old, some are newer, and they're kind of merged together, kind of indicating that buildings have been added as like time progressed.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's another great way to talk about it there too.
Yeah, and then there's a little interior here. Again, we don't have time to check out this, but I
Take
guess
a
you can
little
just
teaser
briefly
glimpse
show them.
inside. All right, everybody, you can pause the video here if you want to see more of this one. That's very cool, though. I love this. I remember watching when you were building up that one. It was so cool to see.
So again, we have this overhang build,
Yeah,
which breaks up the line of sight a little bit. And behind
totally.
here, we have the industrial area, or one of the industrial areas. So I guess just a quick flyby we do here. It's just a lot of pipes and furnaces and stuff.
Yeah, now for the industrial side of things, you're not using like machinery or anything like
No,
that.
no,
You're
no.
thinking of this as like clay pits and
Yeah,
ways to make bricks and things throughout the area. I think that's something that a lot of people in the Minecraft community at least are thinking, oh, you're building an industrial area. It's going to be steampunk-esque or industrial era, like cannons and all that type of stuff. But it's cool seeing this represented in such a different way. And
yeah.
this even
So
in here, like these pits that you have right here with all the smoke coming out of the top, you could more or less make something really similar as in vanilla now with the campfire block,
oh
which
yeah,
is pretty
no
sweet.
problem. Yeah. So I did do a lot of research on how this, like the actual, these are lime burners for making mortar for the walls, and then like iron flat furnaces and stuff like that. So it's just kind of fun doing research and trying to recreate
Totally.
that in Minecraft.
Definitely.
So
No, I love how you have these very large, wide streets throughout here. and then they just come into like a little narrow gateway to get into like, it looks like the backyard and some functional areas where people, like a smith and little gardens. This is one thing that I have seen from all of the city builds that you do. You add little gardens around everywhere where people are growing food. Just wherever there's open space, you're filling it with something to help the city, and I love that.
Yeah, they gotta eat, man.
Oh yeah, totally. I feel like a lot of people would just be like, I'm just gonna pile up a bunch of wood in crates or chests and barrels, and it's like, well, no, you can do this, and you add some more greenery to it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very cool.
Let's go back to the main street here, or is there more you want to look at? Of course. Then
no, we are following you.
Another thing which is cool to point out is I add a couple of these like ruins to make it look like the city has kind of expanded and being burnt down and rebuilt and stuff over time. So this is like an arch which leads down to an area here, and it's like there's nothing too important happening here. I just like the way it kind of makes this area feel.
Is this supposed to be a dead pig or a cow or something?
This is a butcher up here, so just lifting that up and being ready to chop.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so again, just a lot of backyards. I like working on those because I think they kind of make the build come alive. That's where we can do the personal areas for the people.
Totally. It allows you to take a break from building houses too, which I think that's the big part, is people are always getting annoyed with building the same thing over and over again, the repetition of it, whereas and they're like, well, I have to build all these houses to finish my city, but there's so many different different ways you can build a house, different things you can include inside of a house, and then even more from that, the details around it, that's always going to be different between trees, a little backyard area for a butcher to work, a blacksmith, we have crop fields, and whatever it might be. There's a million and one things that you could easily just throw into a city, and it's so cool. All right, well, I think that is probably good for me. I would love to get some people to go over and check out your channel here as well, instead of just seeing it all through my video here over on this side. So everybody, please be sure to go check out Viggoman. As mentioned earlier, there will be a link in the description to his channel. Amazing Conquest Reforged builder, amazing builder as well. And I know recently you've been having a bit of a vanilla building series going on as well on the survival side of things, right?
Yeah, that's been a lot of fun.
Slowly we're converting you as well.
Yeah, I don't want to focus on the building there. I just want to focus on the survival experience. But of course, we got to do some building as well.
Oh, totally. The nature of builders, as much as we say we're going to do the survival side of things, there's always a nice build to go with it. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to come over here and check out your city, Viggo. I really appreciate it. So yeah, maybe we'll have to come over here and check it out after you add another 50 or 100 houses or whatever else you got planned for this place.
Well, thank you for coming, visiting me. It's been pretty lonely here lately, so it's good to have some company.
I do hope this video was useful for y'all, but that is definitely all I have time for today. I'm going to leave a poll up in the upper corner. Do y'all think this kind of stuff is useful, where we take part of the episode to go tour around other people's places? Should we go do these things more often? Be sure to let me know in the poll in the upper right hand corner. It seems like a lot of y'all really like the poll way of answering things, so I'm gonna try and use these ones more in here as well. But that's all I got for you today. Hope you all enjoyed Viggoman's city there of Krasberg. Definitely please be sure to go check him out, show him some love, go comment on his most recent video saying fWhip sent me over here. That would be absolutely awesome. So thank you all very much. Please hit that like button if you did enjoy this video here as well. Subscribe if you are new, and I will catch you on the fWhip side.